policies, and power. From the halls of government.
You were there. I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They're feeling school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ebuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
This is yet another time to take a look at happenings in and around Nigeria here on the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. The rains are upon us, and unfortunately 31 states, according to Nigeria Meteorological Agency, have been on the watch list. And unfortunately, over the weekend, there was a very, very heavy downpour, and the impact is still being looked at in different parts of the country, of the southeast, and then of Anambra State, that unfortunately hosts about most of the erosion sites in Nigeria and the southeast. And of course, coming out this morning, I couldn't help but wonder what people who built on places very close to these danger zones would be counting now. Losses? Because I wouldn't know, if the rain doesn't do it for you, I bet the government, in a bid to save certain land spaces and also prevent further escalation of the menace, might have to do it for you. And these buildings, if I'm not mistaken, were put up less than 10 years ago. And I mean, for an area like the Nkisi River area, one would have thought that any sensible contractor would know that a day like this would come. A day like this would definitely come. And, you know, when you see stories about, probably in the Western world, where people live in houses that oversee the waters, there are plans. The distance isn't that close. The proximity is alarming. And over time, I haven't stopped wondering how people actually live in those houses and go to sleep at night with their two eyes closed. But then, we'll look at more of the impact. I understand Ekulobia also did feel some part of the impact. Ochanja was not left out. And of course, the road construction happening around the Maxim to Y Junction axis has been greatly hampered. Unfortunately, Housing Gate is an eyesore as we speak. Also, over the weekend, there was the election that happened in Ekiti State and Rivers State. And also, we understand that there is some sort of good news coming from the area of the children who were kidnapped in Orire, Oyo State. We'll look at these and many more today. I am Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Ebuka is here. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Chisholm, good morning to everyone listening to us this very morning. You mentioned the havoc from the rainfall on Saturday. I think it was about 3 to 4 hours of rain.
Heavy one.
Yes, and we are seeing the result. And what we have seen so far brings to mind the questions of what are we not doing properly? In as much as somebody can argue that if you have that amount of rain, that there's a possibility of having runoff water coming onto the roads. But the big question is, why are we having this, even in areas where the drains are deep and wide? You mentioned the ones that happen in Onitsha. I talk about the Obonike market, building material market, that was flooding there, a heavy one, to the point that some shops were submerged, and it left some destruction. You talk about the one that happened at Ochanja. Talk about the one that happened at Onitsha Road. Just mention them. Even in Oka, around Unizik Junction, there was also flooding there, where we saw water coming from Atwez Avenue, coming onto the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway, and everywhere was submerged to the point that it became impassable. You see vehicles queued up, not moving. And if you look at that very Unizik Junction area, you see that place is slopey. So any water coming from Regina Chile area, of course, has to flow down. But that place was flooded up to Pactonian Hotel area. And what I'm thinking about this whole thing is, this calls for a reflection. Let's think about what is actually bringing about this kind of flooding we are having now. Is it because that the rain was too much? Is it because we have a poor road design? Is it because that urban development has overtaken places meant for flood water to flow? Is it because we have blocked water channels that when the rains come and we have so much rain, and then the flood gets to take over the major roads? We have to ask these questions to find out what the issue is, so that we begin to address them. If not, if we have this amount of rain we had on Saturday, we are going to have many people who will be counting losses. And you mentioned the one at 33 area. I don't know. Yesterday I was discussing with somebody, and the person mentioned that very thing. He blamed the engineer, who is doing that very road, saying that he did a wrong channeling of water, and it's now about to eat someone building. So I think we have to think about this. The part government has to play. Government has to come in now. The party has to play it. Then the part we have to play as people. We also need to do that, so that this destruction is going to leave us. Because what I saw on Saturday left me devastated. I was also asking myself, how can somebody just go to a shop? You are still in your shop, the rain begins to fall, and you are helpless. You are watching flood water take over your shop, and your goods are destroyed right before your eyes. So let's rethink what we are not doing right, and then see how we can get back on the right of sustainable development.
All right, then Dr. Tony Olisambeki is also here with us. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning to you, Chisholm. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning in the Anambra. Good morning in the Onitsha Donidu. Good morning in the Osumovu. Good morning in the Bekanye. Good morning, everyone under the reach of our voice. Another beautiful Monday, where we are back in the sanctuary of the Most High to proclaim and profess the truth and nothing but the truth. We've seen it and we have observed it. Today being Monday, June 22nd day in the month of June in the year 2026. And we saw what happened, and we're talking about the devastating effect of the rains on Saturday, and I saw it coming, and we observed it. Quite a lot of things happened. Cars, somersault, keke, somersaulted in parts, and also building material, and some of them, building complexes. And it happened at the time people were still in the markets. There's the agony. Markets were flooded. And we saw what it did in Nnewi. I don't know about some other places, but we saw the viral videos going around. And it is very important to make this point before we begin, that we know very well that Nigeria receives different degrees of rainfall depending on the part. The northern part receives about 500 millimeters of rains per annum. The North Central about 1,000, because Northern part is, I think is about 500 to 1,000. Then the North Central is about 1,000 to 1,500 millimeters. And then the southern part of the country receive about 1,500 to about 3,000 millimeters of rain. And I have explained this the other time we talked about this. If you don't need to be a meteorologist to understand that it's just like when you bring out a container, the level of rain that will fill that very container, where it is situated for the entire year, tells you the number of rainfalls you usually have. And for you to have about 3,000 millimeter, it means that it will be up to how many story building? Approximately, it will be about 10 story buildings. That's the amount of rainfalls if you are to use container to contain or to collect all those things. But we are still counting the losses. But good thing is that that's the season. And you have to be ready. You have to prepare for the season. We thank God Almighty for His grace, for His love, for everything He has done for us. And for us being here is also another miracle, another grace. Just sit back and enjoy the program.
All right, then we're going to tell you what the front pages say. And from there, we'll dive into the conversation proper. And just to let you know, we're live on Facebook. Udala Radio 104.7 FM is our handle. You can drop whatever comments you have right there. And you can also send a message to the WhatsApp number 0803 221 6973. On our table this morning, we have Vanguard, Daily Sun, The Guardian, and the Punch newspapers. And starting with Vanguard, 6 out of 7, how APC swept Ekiti governor, 5 by-elections, lost Rivers to PDP 5. That's on page 5, rather. All sector reps threatened sanctions over poor PIA implementation. On page 8. On page 9, Serap wants 110 billion naira recovered from lawmakers after court voids allowances. Others. Oyo school kidnap. Now, this is the banner headline on this paper. Troops block escape routes as terrorists reduce demands. That's on page 30. Kidnap kingpin, indigene of Orire local government, radicalized by Ansaru group. Please, Igboho clash over release of kidnapped victims. Did you see the video of Igboho's troops allegedly sacking a community?
Well, I must be honest with you. When it comes to Sunday Igboho, I approach his matter with a pinch of salt because that wasn't Saturday. We saw a video of him, releasing ballistic missile from his mouth when he was speaking in the palace of a traditional ruler in
Seriously, Frank?
Of course, that was what he was doing because he was threatening fire and brainstorm, asking, Fulani leaders that if they fail to produce the kidnapped people, he was going to raise people to sack them from the area and what have you. He spoke in a manner unbecoming of a civilian. Even military people do not talk in that very manner. But someone could say that he was venting his spleen based on what had been happening in that part of Nigeria. But back to the major issue. The major issue is that after that very outburst at the palace of a traditional ruler, we saw a video that came out. People were claiming that the people who were kidnapped had been released after he spoke. But that has been debunked by the police and the state government, saying that there's no element of truth in that. So that same video of his supposed men going to Fulani settlement, trying to fish them out and sack them, I approach it with a pinch of salt until I'm able to verify that myself independently. That's when I can speak to the factuality of that very video in southwestern part of Nigeria.
Now, the big question is that the problem? Should that be the bone of contention, especially looking at how things are going? Let's take a look at some other stories on the front page of the Vanguard. Terrorists invade Kebbi community, burn buildings, abduct residents on page 6. And Financial Vanguard here says wet season farming. Frustration hit farmers over sharp rise in input costs. Find that on page 11. And those are the stories on the front page of the Vanguard.
Okay, so on Punch newspaper, the big story there says retirement bombshell. 5 DCGs to lead 1,516 officers out of customs. That story can be found on page 2 of the Punch. And the riders there, customs faces generational shift as 17 ACGs, 25 controllers, top brass prepare for exit. Pre-retirement leave begins as agency sets July 31 deadline for exit-related complaints. Over 1,500 customs retirement statutory, not CG succession plot, reps chair. Another headline says JAMB Access affiliated degree courses encourage of education on page 20. Dangote imported 1.46 billion liters blended gasoline. NMDPRA on page 39 of the Punch newspaper. By elections, APC sweeps Nasarawa, Enugu, Kano, Ondo, PDP holds Rivers on page 8. Ex-OG TV broadcaster guard found dead inside Oguna apartment on page 5. Labour knocks government as FARC payouts hits 10.4 trillion naira on page 30 of Punch. And then beside the nameplate, the headline there says Ekiti governorship poll, Tinubu hails Oyebanji as ADC PDP reject result. That story is on page 7 of a Punch newspaper.
All right, then, from the Punch, let's go to the Daily Sun. The banner headline here is Orire abduction, hope rises for abducted pupils, teachers, security operatives in Circle Forest, step up rescue efforts. Abdul Salami mobilizes Nigerians against terrorism. That's on page 6. Flood windstorm destroys shops, farmlands in Ebonyi. Like I said earlier, that's on page 29. Anambra was not the only state affected. Now, the rest of what you'd see on the front page of the Daily Sun are advertorials. One being for the Benue State Governor, Reverend Father Dr. Hyacinth Lomem Alia. Congratulatory message there from the Secretary to the State Government.
Okay, I think these people should choose one. Each time I see this kind of title on the names, it asks me, Reverend Father Dr. Hyacinth. You should choose one, my friend. Then over to
Nigerians are obsessed with titles.
Is that where the worth of a human being lies? Now let's look at the Guardian newspaper and see the headlines today. From airports to airlines, governors sink over 500 billion naira in new carriers fleet. The story is on page 6. This story talks about how governors are now going into floating airlines. I think from that report they're saying that about 15 governors are on the verge of floating airlines. And then this story says Oyebanji re-elected in landslide victory as observers identify gaps ahead of Osun polls. The story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. This one says Atiku Amechi presidential bid unsettles ADC on page 3. FG took 1.1 trillion naira from May FARC revenue before sharing, says Oye. That story is on page 2. Report estimates 279 kidnappings nationwide in May on page 3 of The Guardian. When solution to open defecation deserves more than political statement on page 4. Sanwo-Olu Bakare lead calls for governance, geoeconomic reforms on page 5. Osun Accord, PDP warn INEC against release of unclaimed PVCs to APC on page 7. And the last story on the front page of the Guardian says 74% of retailers need credit, only 18% access. Okay, only 18% access formal loans. That story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. All
right, then we're going over to the conversation proper. And this time around, Tony, let's talk about the rain that fell on Saturday. Over 4 hours of serious pounding. And if you found yourself on the road, you'd be shocked at what you'd meet. I mean, I was on the road, so I know what it was like. Getting to Housing Gate, it was a mess, coupled with the fact that our people are so excited at the idea of bad and reckless driving. And at the end of the day, we have the impact, not just here in Anambra State, but in different parts of the country. And it has raised serious concerns about several things, one of which is the quality of works done on our roads, why our drainages are almost never working. I mean, there's a constant blockage. You go to a place like Ochanja, the drainage systems, or rather I would say the gutters, are quite deep. But when it comes to doing the job, it looks like, The job is not being done at the center of it all. And so it will leave any well-thinking Nigerian asking, what are we doing wrong? Why is it that every time that the rain comes, we have the same woeful tales to tell, the same stories? And developers, especially private investors, I'm seriously wondering, are they not being guided? What blueprint are they working by? The regulators, what blueprint are they working with? Because if you go towards Nkisi and look over that hilltop, what you would see there is an eyesore, and it is a disaster. This is the this disaster. There you go. It's just waiting to be served. I mean, it has been cooking for a while. Right now, it is done and waiting to be served, Tony.
Well, if you go on and on and on and on, the truth remains that it is the rains that fell on Saturday exposed quite a lot of things. It exposed a lot of rot. Let's be honest. When people fail to plan, they are planning to fail. That's the summary of what happened that Saturday. You are talking about some roads that we actually excavated, or the drain caused a lot of damage to. You can begin to talk about the ones in the 33 or other places you mentioned. What about our markets? We are told that streets in Onitsha and also Ogiri area, roads turn into rivers. Roads all of a sudden became rivers. Vehicles, both buses, trucks, cars, tricycles, they got submerged, trapped, movements severely disrupted. We are told that flood waters damaged many goods in different markets. Homes and fences, many of them collapsed. In Oba, there was this specific incident, like a car needing rescue from floodwater were reported. Many places in our, not just rural community, in most of our Nobi axis and some other axis, erosion now came and took its wrong position. We saw how block drains worsened a lot of things, because when we are saying we must desilt our drainage system, people don't understand. The effect is what we saw last week, Saturday. Submerging of vehicles, water entering into people's shops, and a lot of damages it caused. In fact, we are going to talk about the farmlands, economic trees, and also ongoing road projects. I don't know what may have happened at is it Omonia Axis, where the second Niger bridge, second phase is being anchored towards. I don't know, because they have a big project going on there. I passed through there on Friday. I saw a gigantic work. It seems that they want to create or build another flyover around that area. I don't know the extent of damage that may have had on that very work going on. That's the point. But in all of this that happened also, if you look at it, it could be about 50 millimeter or more of rainfall. If you bring 1 meter square of container and put it or set it aside, you are going to collect about 50 millimeter of water. That's what it tells you. And if you measure it, you understand the quantity. But if you do not understand some of these terminologies, we are just trying to say that it was a heavy downpour. Heavy downpour, that's what it was. And if you go to Ogiri, that area they call, there's that very spot at Ogiri we usually talk about.
Ukwoji.
What?
Ukwoji.
Ukwoji. That Ukwoji became a lake. Lake Ukwoji. If you attempt to pass through there, your car will not be seen. If you put your car there, the roof will not be seen. It became Lake Ukwoji. Just like I said, most of our roads turn out to be rivers. And I've stated some of these things before now. If you go to most countries, Kenya, Ghana, you hardly see sand in the urban area. Sands are not seen, because pavements are done in such a way that it is close to the drainage. Lap very well with the drainage without any space, because if there is any space, it becomes a space for water to percolate. And when water percolates, it can cause devastating effects. If you go to places like London, if you go to little space. In fact, I've seen most contractors doing roads in Anambra State. They will tell you it's a walkway. You use gravel and quota, and mix it up on sand and call it walkway. My dear, that's not walkway. Walkways are done with concrete. You don't do walkway with gravel and quota. You don't do walkways with it on top of sand. When rain comes, it will blow the gravels away. That's what people call chippings. Yes, it will blow the chippings away. The sand will even submerge itself, and it will cause a deep hole that will even wreck the third road. If we want to do walkways, it must be concrete base, and it must be done in such a way that it gets close to the drainage, well lapped. There will be no space. The idea is the flood water will get into drainage immediately because it won't see sand because sand absorbs water. I have said these things, and that's exactly what happened along
the country, Tony.
It's everywhere in the country. It's one problem with Nigeria as a whole. But there are some roads done that lasted, there's no doubt. I have said it, if we are to do walkways, it must be concrete. If it cannot be concrete, let's ensure that the pavements get to the drainage well lapped, without any space for water to even enter into any corner. These things are not rocket science. You can imagine the amount spent on dualizing that Nobi road. Now, the contractor signed a kind of an agreement that these roads will last for about 20 years. Just a rainfall of about 50 millimeters, just like I said earlier on, washed away. What that means that if he has to go back to the side, do you know how much he will put in? People do not understand that the cost of anything substandard outweighs the cost of making it standard, because you're going to come back. Anything you buy that is of poor quality, you will use it once, you use it second, it gets spoiled. You will spend the right money and come back and buy the proper quality. By then, the one you spent in buying the one of poor quality has gone. You see why it is even better and economically wise for you to go for something of high quality, no matter the cost. Because if you attempt anything substandard, it's going to cost you times two.
Okay, so Tony, let's talk about the response, because at this point in time, I think there is need for a response. Having seen what was unleashed on Anambra State on Saturday, we have mentioned some specific locations, and I want to be particular again. The 33 area, what we are seeing there, the gully we are seeing there now is as a result of poor channeling of flood water as a result of construction. Now, there are buildings that are now at the verge of collapse. Not because of anything, but because a contractor has done bad rechanneling of water in that very area. Then you mentioned the Ochanja that have deep drainages, yet when there is a rainfall, heavy rainfall, you still have the entire road flooded. You mentioned Onitsha Road. If you go to Onitsha Road, almost all the drainages there are blocked. Now, good news, I was coming to work this very morning. I saw that there was some work done along the Oka Road. The drains there around Pacific Plaza, they were desilted, but the sands are set by the side there. I go to DMGS here, this Udala Road, this narrow gutter there is also desilted, but the sands are by the side. Now, you look at all these things, like this Udala Road, that gutter there looks like a child play. I don't know the year that road was constructed at, so I don't know what we are thinking about.
Udala Road?
Yes. I don't know what they're thinking about to do that kind of drain there that is very, very small inside. Now, so if you look at all these problems we have, I'm thinking about how do you expect that authorities concerned and the people concerned? We went around there, we met with the chairman of the market, and so we saw some places, and look at the kind of money that was invested there. Go there and see people's shops were submerged. Their goods, of course, some of them might have been destroyed because they were buried inside the water. And from what I gathered, this is not the very first time that they were having that kind of experience. So what kind of response are we expecting now so that we'll be able to mitigate the impact of it? Because as long as people are having rainfall, it keeps happening. If you look at the prediction this year, they said states in the southern part of Nigeria are going to have from normal to above normal rainfall this very season, and they are going to have extended
water channels, their dump sites.
Of course, apart from that, they make water channels, their dump sites. Some of them don't even have channel at all. You must see how you can create artificial channel. At this point, water must find a way through which it passes. If you don't give it a way, it goes anywhere. But by the time we get to the summer, I will advocate and I will also appeal. Government should find a way to partner with some landlords to make sure pavements are done. Because this dirt or silt that gets into the village, there are being things carried by. We must think about our disposal system. How do we dispose waste? It's one thing. We must change our psyche. It's not about trying to arrest those who are urinating or trying to arrest those who throw away sachet water. But we see some places where some of these things are dumped. Clearing the drainage systems, making it mandatory that disposal should be well done. At least there should be guidelines, there should be enlightenment, there should be sensitization about some of these things. And apart from that, we must find a way. Markets that do not have water channels should dig one, should even construct artificial ones. But by the time we get into summer, the dry season, we must find a way to see how landlords, government will partner, and even property owners to see that most urban areas there will be 100% pavement. If you have pavement, sand, because it's one of the things that cover most of the drainage systems. Sand. Said many times, of course, the governor has come to that Ukwoje area. And we must find a way to widen. If construction companies, most drainages are so narrow, there's a way to do drainage.
So Tony, quickly, let's round off on this conversation.
Right.
The people, they are critical stakeholders in this entire conversation. Like I said earlier, when I started talking, I asked about private developers who are culpable in everything that has to do with the degradation that we are experiencing. And then the average Nigerian user who sees the waterways as a dumpster, hoping that the rain will come. And the question is for how long, to what end? Look at the impact now.
You know, if you look at the physical planning, we have a physical planning law in a number of states. The idea is to look at our environment. We have Ministry of Environment in a number of states. And I keep asking, what are they doing? We should not be reactive. We see some of these things on daily basis. We see how obstructed. Does it mean that they don't move around? They don't see some of these things. They don't see them firsthand. They don't issue order. They don't issue warning. They don't even compel people. They don't take people to court to get them to do the necessary things. They don't get people prosecuted. They should have prosecutorial powers. We should do things like the advanced people that are, I don't know. Most times, if you move around different countries, if you come back here, you say, what is the problem with this country? Can you even? I saw the post made by the police. Twin. It's here in a carton. Jedebiana Ibaifia. But the good thing is that the parents were arrested. I don't know why this keep happening around that place, Oboko or New Haven. Sorry, it keeps happening, keeps repeating. You know what? A blessing, twin. It's here in a carton. You put it inside a carton. Go and dump twins. Just like a waste. Very absurd. These are some of the things we complain. We keep complaining. Everything, yes, government, of course, if you don't have the right leadership, things like this will keep happening. But we must also do the right thing as a people. That's the way I'm coming from.
All right, then. There's a breaking news, and we take that quickly before we move on to other matters on our headlines. We understand that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has resigned. Now, according to reports, this happened a few minutes ago, and He has said he's going to be very supportive of the person who is going to replace him. We understand that he could be replaced by Andy Bonham. And we understand that Stammer has been under fire for quite some time now. And it's quite impressive, Tony, looking at the Nigerian situation when a man is being called out, doing what you're supposed to do, he honorably resigns. But in Nigeria, in Nigeria, what we do is we die here politics.
I think it's not that he honorably resigned. The pressure was on him to resign.
The pressure was on him, but haven't we seen? I'll use Benue State for instance. There was a time there was so much pressure in Benue State, so much call. What happened?
I think if you look at why if you look at why he resigned, there are so many reasons. But the most striking reason why he resigned was the losses Labour Party suffered in local elections in May. Because if you look at that very election, it was a yardstick to test his
popularity.
Not just popularity, his performance and what he has been doing. The tipping point was when Andy Bonham's the CIC victory in I think it was a market field by-election where he won with a strong majority. If you look also the internal party revote, where many of Labour members of parliament, about 70 or over 70, publicly urged the prime minister they are serving to resign or set a timetable. And several senior cabinet ministers, including foreign secretary, I think it was Yet Cooper, home secretary, if I can recall, one Sabana, and even Mahmoud, others, they reportedly had a frank conversations with him. And they told him, frankly, that he has to resign. He has done poorly. And you also look at widespread dissatisfaction with the government.
Pressure. We get pressure all the time here.
Can the ministers of President Tinubu ask him to resign? Stammers, in their own case, the ministers were elected, but he chose them as ministers because of the system of government they practiced over there. They were elected on the platform of his own party, but he called them to be ministers, appointed them ministers, but over 70 of them asked him to resign because of a lot of economic challenges and so many things happening. Because if they are to go to general election, it's going to be a doom. But the Conservatives were thinking, hoping that they could overturn things. They couldn't.
Bonham. But apart from this, there are some other political scandals that happened within his time, which also increased that pressure. Tony talked about the issue of immigration, which I'm going to come back to. But the issue of this man dousing controversy, we also saw how it mounted so much pressure on this very government because it brought some elements of severe damage on, talking about the appointment of Lord Peter Mandelson as a UK ambassador to the US. And we know that this very Mandelson has a past connected to the late sex offender, the famous Jeffrey Epstein, of course. Yeah. And then I spoke with a friend in UK. That was I think it should be about up to 1 month now, at the tick of when he was having so much pressure. And he told me that one of the things that he said that two things that have affected the popularity of Keir Starmer is the issue of immigration and the cost of living struggles. He said in as much as things are still affordable, but there have been this increase in cost of living. Then some of the policies he has evolved, they backfired. Like the issue of increasing, how long somebody can stay in UK before you get your residency permit. He said that the reason they did that is they want to have more black people to work and make money for the government so that the government will be able to take care of the dependent population who can no longer work. So they wanted more black people to work so they get more money to feed the white people who are now dependent on the working population for them to survive. And the people who were living in UK are not finding it very funny. So they were complaining to their representatives who were kicking against it at the government meeting. So when the pressure becomes too much for this very man, so he has to lead. And like you said, it's a case of what we have here is not what we have there, because in our own case, whether you are protesting for 90 tomorrow, they will look you in the eye and tell you that they're going nowhere. But it's good that we have a system that works over there where people resist policies and people who are meant to lead them will know that their time is up and they give way for another person to try. So let's see who is going to become the next prime minister of UK. So Tony, since Tony Blair, I think no prime minister has been able to complete his tenure. from Tony Blair, we went to Boris Johnson. We talk about Rishi Sunak. Talk about what's the name again? The woman that came. I've forgotten her name now. So all of them, nobody has been able to, finish their tenure, and it boils down to the issue of policies not aligning with the way people want it.
And the question is, when are we going to have a Nigeria where your policies are not aligning with the people and you leave the office and let someone else try? I'll leave that as a rhetoric. Let's not dwell on that.
I think, let me quickly say something before we leave this issue, because we have said everything needed to say, but we are looking at the new UK Prime Minister, because the young man who, Andy Bonham, is expected to be the new UK Prime Minister. But first and foremost, he is going to face leadership context. He is going to contest for Labour leadership. You know how somebody becomes the Prime Minister? The leader of the party becomes the Prime Minister. The leader of the party that has the majority of the seats or that form the government becomes the Prime Minister. Why Stekama became Prime Minister was because over quite a lot of scandals, even sleeping with minors, security scandal, sex scandal, all manner of scandals. You were also told that there is a link. You jumped all the vetting, yet appointed a person. A lot of things happened as a result of that. Even when you were busy giving freebies, donations, accepting gifts from people, and it was seen that it could influence their policies. When you were a public figure, there are things you do not accept. When we are telling our judges, stop accepting things, they will not hear. How many of our judges will resign? But this man was busy accepting gifts, left, right hand side. And people felt that whatever decision he makes will be as a result of the gift so accepted. That's exactly what we feel about our judges. If you accept gift from anybody, accept that FCT minister will build a house for you, accept that he will give you a vehicle, accept whatever decision you make, we will believe that it is as a result of this gift. That's one of the things this customer did. And we can go on and name many. Just like I said, they have their problems. We have our own problems. But the surprising thing, just like I said earlier, I thought that
people for ransom.
Yeah.
And you're willing to negotiate, so you get something in exchange for innocent people that you have taken.
Yes.
Why is Gumi still roaming free?
I don't know.
Why does a man who utters such nonsense still roam free?
For the fact that Gumi has not been arrested points to a lot of things.
A lot of crimes. I mean,
many
this
people
man's
are believing that
statements are crime offenses.
There are those who are backing Gumi, those in high places. Things they cannot say publicly, they will use Gumi to say some of these things.
Dear Lord.
If you look at the IPOB was prescribed, even when they do not hold people hostages as seen in this case. But even when they were local government area, that's the hometown of Igboho, Sunday Igboho, and Igboho issued 2-hour ultimatum to kidnappers, warning against kidnapping in his community. Even in his own hometown community, kidnappers came and kidnapped a pregnant woman, her children, and also a sibling. But Igboho was making an ultimatum to the kidnappers. But we heard that he confronted local Fulanis. That mayhem will be unleashed. But police came out and refuted Igboho's claim, saying Igboho had no hand in the release of these people. That they swung into action. That's what police in Orolobe, local government, was saying. That Igboho, he was just issuing a statement. But why would people be dancing, praising Igboho? He issued a statement, and police said they were already on the trail. They were trailing those people already. But they were quick to make sure that those people, the kidnappers, were given a hot chase. But instead of giving them credit for the job done, they are busy giving Sunday Igboho credit, singing his name, praising him, dancing all around him, declaring all manner of parties around him as the person that did whatever he did, that he issued an ultimatum. But in any case, it's left for them. But we are concerned about the school children. You mentioned very well that they have been in captivity for how many days?
37.
For 37 days. It tells you quite a lot.
The federal government, the state government, the local government authorities, and of course all security agencies in Nigeria. And now we understand that we are getting help from outside, blocking the exits of this forest park. We are hoping that these children come out safely, and Let's keep our fingers crossed what rehabilitation processes are going to be on ground to make sure that they heal from this very traumatic experience that they have had to live. Let's go over to politics now, Tony, as we round off today's conversation. Ekiti state governorship election and 6 national voter turnout was like, especially as we juxtapose everything we are doing within it now with what we expect in the next few months. Hopefully by January 2027, INEC is going to be giving us the most important election in Nigeria at every 4-year term, of course. And so let's look at what the voter turnout was like, and if we had incidents, vote buying, violence, logistical challenges, and all whatnot.
Of course, we had some of these things, no doubt, but we are looking at the scale of some of these things you mentioned. Voters' apathy is there. Because I don't know if the turnout was up to about 26 or 27%, and I've said the time we'll begin to have about 45% voters turnout. That's when I will know that a lot must have changed. But that's by the way. We talk about vote buying. It happened. We saw quite a lot of videos. Man, we saw to take over the entire Southwest to convert them to PDP. And that was why Obasanjo brought, I don't know whether he brought, Ayodele Fayoche, who came in on May 29, 2003. But he was impeached sometime around 2006. We know the history of his impeachment. And we also had Friday Aderemi, who came in acting capacity briefly anyway, before Brigadier General Tunji Olurin as the military sole administrator of that very state. I think it was in 2006 to 2007. A lot happened. Let's not just tell you about those who had a brief stint there. We remember Olusegun Oni, who came in on May 29, 2007. If you recall, he was removed by court judgment because court removed him sometime around October 2010. Yes, a PDP governor. I think Obasanjo brought in because Fayoche did not follow the rules, the guidelines. He made sure that Fayoche was impeached. A lot happened during that period. Bullion van was used to bring Fayoche into governance. So many stories were told. Olusegun Oyon, he couldn't win the election. The election was marked with irregularities. He was removed by court when our courts were still court, when they were somehow independent. During the time of Obasanjo, there were many court rulings that went against the wishes of Obasanjo. Can you see that coming now? And we know very well that Kayode Kayemi came in. He was the one who won that election under ACN. But INEC declared Olusegun Oni the winner under PDP. But called Oyebanji. But he was reminded that, are you not a PDP man again? He said, yes. He's a PDP man with different colors. Whoever he wants, he supports, irrespective of the party. Your party, PDP, in that election had a candidate. You didn't even support your candidate, even when that candidate is Wike's boy. But you were quick to support Oyebanji. Said he supports whoever he wants. So what kind of partisan politics are you playing? This one is no more partisan politics. It's a politics of interest. But nevertheless, we saw some of the things you mentioned, Shisam. But the scale in some parts were quite minimal. In some parts, something you cannot neglect. But in any case,
what happens to Beaver? Because we are told that the way Beavers work is that it takes record of people who are accredited to vote. So if we have a case where papers were printed at random and then counted, so what happens to the figure in the Beavers? And then the discrepancy or possible discrepancy in the figure generated from this manner of voting. That's number one. They now go to Enugu where APC won the Enugu North Senatorial District by-election. The APC candidate Ikeji Asogwa, he polled 162,360 votes to defeat the candidate of the PDP, who scored 9,299 votes. If you like, and say a paltry number. If you look at the difference between
if you are to judge by state they control and some number of representations, but I'm not saying that if you are to judge by the support of the masses, no. I'm saying based on states they control. They are controlling Ebonyi State, they are controlling Enugu State, they are controlling Imo State. They are controlling 3 out of the They are controlling, yes, 3 out of the 5 states in Southeast. Labour is controlling Abia. And then you have Abga controlling Anambra State. So APC, based on number of states they control in Southeast, they are dominant. 3 states out of 5. And when it comes to number of representation seats, they are the dominant party, no doubt. But when it comes to the support, the masses have, because some of these seats, money, not because the people are willing or the people are voting for the party, but we know very well they have the bait. And if any JJ you throw your bait, then the fishes will follow the bait, and in a way they will be caught. Is it not so? That's exactly what they did. They threw the baits, and people are hungry.
So okay, does that mean that even when people are hungry and they complain, if they have that very bait, they will still stick with the government or with the party that they read and think that it is of no good?
Well, for me, we know very well that in Nigeria, there are people, because of this conscientization, this advocacy we have preached, there are people who are still falling victims of 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. We are talking about vote buying. They increased the scale. There were places in Ekiti State they sold a vote for 20,000. There were places they sold for 25. There were places they sold for 30. There were places they sold for 40. They something to survive. That's where many Nigerians are. To the point of holding something to survive. As if we are not in this country. We see the billions flying. Are you not aware that governors receive so much money per month? I don't know if there is any state. I don't know if there's any state that receives less than 60 billion every month. I don't know if there is any state that receives less than 60 billion every month. Currently, I don't know. I stand to be corrected. But before now, do you know what they usually receive per month? 7 billion, 8 billion. That's what they usually receive. I'm adding even internally generated revenue. Put everything together, 7 billion, 8 billion. But now I said I stand to be corrected. Not that I'm too sure, but I've
Senior leader then, Justice Stallion, where he said that okay, the story had it that he brought a live chicken and was plucking the feathers of chicken to prove a point that if you brutalize a people, take away everything from them, they will still follow you blindly as long as you offer them small handouts, whether in the form of food or in the form of anything.
It's really sad. Tony, quickly, what do the results indicate ahead of 2027?
Well, for me, I have said it many times and I keep saying it. If you want me to predict 2027, and I say the president is unbeatable, judging by some of these indices we have cited, judging by a lot of factors, I think the election is for him to lose. I have said it many times. The election is for him, but there are times you speak things like this, people will be very uncomfortable, but that's the truth.
So we need to.
That's the truth.
We need to do what differently? Probably stop monetizing elections.
Apart from monetizing elections,
the people that get to take the money.
We must sanitize electoral system. And I've said I don't in any way buy the idea of someone appointing electoral officer that will run the umpire for contest we're part of. If I appoint you to be my umpire, I will be looking at your face.
You pay the piper.
I will be looking at your face.
Morning. You're welcome. Let me speak on the issue of rain, Saturday rain. I think the problem there is for the government. The road they are working now is very substandard. Go to our express road. You see the road 1 week after they have tied that road. There are a lot of potholes there. Imagine if you apply that road. Now that road is not up to 3 months. And it has damaged completely. And I cover when they is there. The road that is built for years is still working. And that new road is the build that we see the kind of problem we are seeing in the new road they are building now. Very problematic. On the issue of election, I witnessed what goes on in Enugu North last week. is very disheartening. You can see where people gathered in one place, completing the election, and you say that whatever is working, there's nothing like Beaver. Frankly, when you say about Beaver, there's nothing like Beaver. That Beaver is just to convince people. They will do what they want to do out of Beaver. And who is going to announce the result? They are going to announce it. They are going to complete it, announce it. So what are you going to do? On the issue of security, Gumi has told us that everything has closed, location has closed. So we are in pure war now, government and the terrorists. We're in the pure war. He said that he's not going to the bush again. So what is government going to do? Our government is trapped because they don't want to say the truth. And because you don't want to say the truth, you are trapped now because they are trapped. Because Gumi has come out and said that he's not going to negotiate again. It's closed. Nigeria is doomed. And I don't know where Nigeria is going from this place. Thank you.
All right then. Good morning. Hello, are you there?
Good morning, everyone in the studio.
Good morning.
I am Gredim. Is getting from Osmo. Yes, if anyone has got to preach about vote buying, that person should go and preach those who are voting at the primaries.
Are you there?
We have to go. Ghana must go. Back to the money. Nobody pushes.
Why not move swiftly into the action? Because if you block them and they couldn't get to the root of the whole matter, that means that will be a very dangerous one, because I don't think that they have enough food for those children here. I don't think that they have such facilities here to make sure that the children are safe. If you block the way they bring the food, we're just getting to the root of the whole matter by arresting them. Why? How can you tell Nigerians that you are already circled the people, that you couldn't get them arrested? How can we believe such stories? I don't think that they are doing enough. You don't play politics or propaganda in such a security situation in this country. What we want to hear, the same claim is that is what Igboho is doing. Igboho don't have any power. He doesn't have any weapon, but he's looking for a job. Simple as that. Good morning.
All right then. Good morning to you. Franklin, while we are still taking the calls, did you see the video of the woman who used hot water to peel the fingers of her house help?
Yes, in Imo State.
And Igbo women are on the spotlight
guys
again.
Out again. I don't understand.
Headquarter of wickedness in Nigeria. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Go ahead, Mario.
Well, Mr. Speaker, based on what is happening in the state, as usual in Nigeria, whenever you say that Mr. President or maybe the incumbent president again, that people misunderstand you, they are not misunderstanding you. You understand? We know that there is normal, I call it normal, the way they normally do in Nigeria here, and we are not seeing it as a big deal. I know that it is state, it is still APC, but I must tell you that result is not the true result from people. I must tell you the truth. Just like upcoming 2027, I myself, I know that when you talk about rigging, they don't rig them already. But the problem there now is, we in Nigeria, what is our plan? That is what we're supposed to be considering. Because whether we like it or not, Mr. President has made it very clear. He told us before that when he was not in power, he struggled to win. Now he is in power, that he is a stubborn politician. There is nothing there is no more explanation that you need to know that they don't plan already to reach. But you as a Nigerian, what is our plan if they actually reach that election? That is where we're supposed to focus. That is what I want to say this one.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Madueke, before you go, Madueke, hello.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay. Can you explain what you mean by that the result in the state is not the true result? Can you explain so that we understand better?
That's not what is happening in Nigeria. There is no true Nigeria who is living in Nigeria that will come out to still vote Kassam government on seat. Because nobody will tell me in Nigeria that the person is not suffering. In one way or the other, that suffer must enter your house. Based on what you are eating, based on your bills, based on whatever that you are doing, even going to farm. So you must be affected one way or the other. And the problem is our government. You will not tell me that people will see all these things and still vote back that same government. Just like what you guys tell us about UK. Things are going wrong. But they are resigning immediately.
Do you think that every Nigerian thinks the way you are thinking?
Yes.
Is that what you think?
Yes. Okay. I am telling you the truth. The problem is that some of the INEC officials that are coming to the polling booth and even the ones that are going to announce our result, they are already bought. And there is nothing we can do. That is the problem.
So there is something that we must understand here is that you see, when election like this took place, we always know that it's not the voice of the people. It's always certain that a particular party is going to win. That is why somebody like me always believe people. Somebody like Wicked that is jumping up and down, talking crap everywhere. People looking at the government that is supporting that. People look at our own governor. The governor just has to say that Tinubu is next is the project.
Okay, I have to let you go at this point. We're totally out of time. Let's head over to Facebook real quick, Frank.
Okay, so for our Facebook page here, Chinyerugezo Koli. Mastope SJ Chinyerike Obibeke. Okay, thank you all for your post. Then Sebastian Abigres from Ugwabobosi, he says, regarding the just concluded Ekiti state governorship election, it's really unfortunate that we are still moving on the old narratives, and very important to know that what we experienced in the era of Mahmoud Yakubu could be elementary to what we may see under the watch of the new INEC chairman, because no right-thinking Nigerian can vote for APC owing to the geometric rise of economic and security challenges rocking the entire country. Okay, Nzekwe Celestin says almost all the construction companies in Nigeria are owned by governors. So why do you think that there will be a proper check on the substandard roads built by these contractors? Corruption in Nigeria has become a norm to the point that even those who are employed to checkmate some of these things are also being corrected by those inventors. But I think it's important. A legislation should be made to stop any political office holder from having any link to construction companies whosoever, and these contractors who specialize in building substandard roads should be arrested and probably prosecuted. Sunday MM says, he posted from Amaba, he says, the defeat of Goodluck Jonathan by the opposition was a big lesson to our politicians. No political party in power at the national level will ever lose election to the opposition again, not this APC. Geoku Bishop says, we keep hearing about flooded areas whenever it rains in many areas of Anambra State. Is it that houses are built on waterways or any issue of blocked drainages? Our government needs to take this matter as a serious and urgent task. He posted from Ghana. And for now, reader say, Frank says, flash flood happens everywhere. We can't stop nature. I beg to disagree with you to a reasonable extent. Flash flood happens, but there are man-made factors that makes the consequence or the impact very, very severe. Be traded for peanuts, while a few benefit at the expense of the majority. The time has come for citizens to rise against manipulation, violence, and decisive politics, and instead choose leaders who genuinely care about the welfare and development of the people. Amadi McDonmike says he's watching from FM Onitsha. He said the Buho should go and rescue those students inside the bush, since he claims to be the man who rescued those who...
The struggling time, the texting time, very hard period. But the most important thing is never to lose the faith or the hope. We cannot. We'll keep trying.
All right, Franklin?
Okay, so I want INEC to respond to the allegations that there were ballot box not stuffing, random thumbprinting, and the people voting without accreditation in Enugu. I would like INEC to respond to that because from what we know, the way the BVAC works, Beavers was invented to make it difficult for people to vote without being the actual owner of the card.
Whoa.
That was the way it was made to work.